feel off, what if you just say, I love that, I feel nervous, and I love that, I feel scared, and I love that, I don't know what's going to happen, and I love that. I want you to just see the only thing that's trying to happen is you're on this planet to learn love. And so if you start to bring love, we've trained ourselves to love people we already love. We've trained ourselves to love a good mood. I want to dare you to start to love a bad mood too. In old self-help, life has been a lot about positivity. And I love that. It's been an amazing ride that we've had in the 2000s and the 90s. Think positive, that's awesome. But you know what we're doing also in this time when we're thinking positive? We're ignoring the negative that's here. So we're trying to run from it with a false positive, but inside of us, you might be like, I gotta get this business started. And I could probably say to you, if you don't, what happens? I want you to hear that sentence. Because a lot of people are starting things out of I have to motivation, I have to. But I've worked with so many people in the last 15 years that I find that I can tell when it's a calling versus a have to that's actually guided out of fear. Meaning like, I gotta make this business start so I'm not a failure to my dad in 1978. You get what I'm saying? I gotta make this thing happen so my mom doesn't say, I told you so. This is in people's bodies. And the big shift, I believe, that started happening in 2020 from a spiritual lens is that life goes, yeah, think positive, that's great. But just so you know, there's a lot of pain inside from trauma that people have had. And I'm going to scramble the whole world's patterns and stop them from doing the things in the way that they're used to doing it. So they have to go inward. And they have to see what's inside. So the good news is, in the old days before 2020, most of us thought that we had a gorgeous, like one-story house. And then it turns out in 2020, the good news is, hey, your house is bigger. Let's go deeper here. The bad news is there's rats and dead bodies in here. But you have a two-story house. In other words, the collective lens is bigger in this time. And the collective lens is not tricked by you just thinking positive while this pain is here, because this pain is you as a child trying to not get hurt. And what we're doing when we think positive is trying to run from that kid. I want you to picture if you're trying to run from your own child. This thing wants to be heard. The big shift in my life in 2020 was hearing the negative too and making that okay. I've had over 10,000 one-on-ones in the last 15 years. And the last 5 years, one of the things I've been doing is helping people say what their darkest thing is. Like, I gotta start this business. What happens if you don't? Then I'm a failure. Then you know what I have to say? I have them in the moment say to the pattern, you're allowed to be a failure in my body. I want you to just hear that. That voice in you that has to make it happen, that's scared to be lost, a failure, doing wrong. Have your parents say, I told you so, fall apart, everything's on you, it'll always be your fault. That voice has never known something so important. And that's that it's loved if that happens too. You get what I'm saying? You're loved. Check this out. If you want to be really rich, instead of just focusing on rich, fall in love with being broke. I want you to think of that for a second. Because if you're avoiding broke, there's a shame thing that's coming up in your body. You're just running from yourself, trying to be richer and avoid this thing. So what if you say the pattern, you're allowed to be broke in my body? The pattern is a 5-year-old version of you, literally a child that was developed during trauma that doesn't want to feel pain again. Like if a 5-year-old is spanked because they got a C in math, immediately they might split and become an achiever and make sure they get straight A's forever. What a beautiful thing, but you know what the downside is? You're literally trying to not get spanked, and that's why you're so successful. All of it is, I don't want to get hit again, I don't want to get yelled again, I don't want to have dad do that. So here we are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, scared of a moment that happened when you were a child, and it's time for that pain to be alchemized. It's time for that pain to be healed because you've done the most you can with that kid. You've done the most, make it happen. You've done the most, but the lens is so great in 2025 that it goes, just so you know, all this creating you're doing is awesome and it's still based on a lie. It's based on a lie that you can't ever fail. It's based on a lie that you won't be loved if you do it wrong. This kind of thing needs to be loved too. So I love bringing love to everything because we're moving into a consciousness that's wanting to release control and move into a letting go time. Mel Robbins' book, Let Them, you know what I'm talking about? That book's awesome. And there's a reason it's an enormous hit, because you're in a time that's about letting go. We're not in the make it happen frequency nearly as much as allowing God to make it happen. Instead of thinking, what do I want? Ask yourself, check this out. What does God want? That's where you actually connect to you, because that I is just trauma. The I wants to do something so it doesn't get hurt. That actually happened with me as a child. I didn't even realize that my dream career of being a stand-up comic happened because my dad spanked me way too hard. And when we watched stand-up comedy, my dad was really nice. So as a little boy, you get it? I'm thinking my dad's uncle worked for Gallagher. He was the prop man. And my dad's mom was a famous puppeteer. She was on the Carol Burnett show. And so my dad's only love language was comedy. And he was an angry, kind of off man every other moment. And so to stay physically safe, I started becoming really funny. And as a child, I thought stand-up comedy was my dream career. And it was. I had an insane career. But I realized up until about, I didn't realize until a few years ago that I was trying to not get hit. Do you see that? I was good at it. I was a master at it. And then eventually it had to end because I see through the lie that I've just escaped getting hit. So what if I just get present for the boy who feels abused? What if I just get really present and tell him, you're allowed to feel abused in my body? Boom, tears, he's released. It's that simple.